So it's really about power. And I think that power is better divided among, the top 1% or however you want to distinguish people who really have power to implement policy change, right? Like the so-called leaders or representatives, etc., and then the rest of us. And then some people who, like myself, are more privileged in between and who may choose to be like, supporting the folks above rather than, siding with the people, right? So when I observed as a new Canadian, because I became a Canadian eventually, I'm a Canadian citizen, when I saw that how working people were being treated, I thought, this is insane. And I don't care what they call themselves, right, left, or center. This is not something I will support. I definitely will oppose it. Not only not support it, but oppose it, right? These are working people, whatever else they are, and they're being assaulted, right, by policies that they played no role in deciding about.
Right. Now, Claudia, I've asked my questions. I read your study, but you're the expert. You're the one who did this study. So as a final question, what conclusions did you draw that you want to share with the viewers?
I've thought about that many times, and I have a few sort of tentative ones. Well, first of all, I think that the only way to really democratize public policy, health policy being just one of them, but you could talk about any other number of things, environment, housing, jobs, education, whatever, right? This is health policy, is to educate or inform as many young people you have a reach to inform. And I'm very happy to be a professor that way because I get a chance to interact with a lot of young people, to give them the tools to feel confident that they can make independent judgments. And by independent, I mean independent from authority, because we both teach students to be, we tell them in academia, professors tell, oh, you got to be a critical thinker. Well, what is that? Oh, you have to learn how to look at credible sources. Well, looking at credible sources is not being a critical thinker. Somebody told you already what source is supposed to be credible. Credible is a political label. It's not a scientific one. What you need to learn is how to scrutinize arguments. If the argument doesn't stand, it doesn't matter if a prime minister says it or, the Pope or whatever, right? It doesn't matter. You need to look at arguments. You need to look at evidence. Of course, the evidence can be, somebody can show you evidence that is not evidence, it's false, but there is no easy recipe, but you have to muddle through things and learn how to do that independently. Immanuel Kant, philosopher, 18th century, et cetera, he said, the key to the enlightenment, to, the age of enlightenment is to do your own thinking, right? Think autonomously, right? Don't look for, answers in important people because they're not going to tell you the answers to what matters. It's in you, right? Look inside you. You're a religious person. You look into whatever. I'm not. You just really, really put yourself in the mirror, take a deep look and think of, yourself. So I think that the most important lesson, if you will, that I turn away is that we need young people to be sort of liberated from, the reliance on authority to make judgments about the world. And I'm not talking about math, 1 and 1 equals 2, that we're not going to fight over that one, but everything else, right? And then I guess there's no alternative than getting involved. I wish I had a better answer.